6th of January 2025, Monday. The time is 10:48. This is a pre-vid and it's not live, so I just get to say what I want to say and go about my day. Brothers and sisters, even though I'm not one to be bewitched over and over and over, recently anyway, with any other gospel, though I'm trying to prove it, what they claim to be the Stick of Joseph branch off second witness gospel. But when we try to live it, things can go terribly wrong. There's those who get through it, no problem. All these extra commandments, no tea, coffee, smoke and drink. But under grace, these things are not a sin. It's not a law, and you can have salvation. As long as your heart's in the right place and it doesn't stop you from preaching or believing or loving the Lord and loving your fellow man. Simple as that. However, they claim salvation and exaltation and the higher level where families can be together forever, where under grace there is no marriage before and after the resurrection. Under the laws restored, the priesthood, now it can. Sounds like a contradiction. However, what can I say about my family? Pretty much all deserted me. Not one person in the whole entire friggin' world wished me Merry Christmas, Happy New Year until I wished them, and then it was only a few. I've always been the one to outreach, and this time I sat back and did nothing and see who would wish me. Not one person pretty much in the world. And my own kids abandoned me long ago. When you read books like Book of Mormon, how the Lamanites, the dark skin, wiped out entire white race except one dude who was called Captain Moroni, who delivered the Book of Mormon by barring it up and then discovered at a later stage. He never went to battle that day. Well, the white man got puffed up, proud and rich and prosperous, and it was prophecy in that book and by the founder prophet Mormon Joseph Smith, and it's happening today. So much money in the storehouse, they don't need to pay tithing, yet still demanded. Richest church in the world. And my own white blood children disown me, cut off from me, because I'm a preacher of grace and priesthood, let alone grace alone. And then blocked me and left me for dead. In fact, my dad's side of the family, when he died, left my mum for dead, her side of the family. Never communicated since, except for funeral arrangements of my father. It's friggin' well disgusting. It's prideful, it's stuck up, it's self-righteous. And that's the bloodline. That's just how it works. But you'll get the dark skin culture. I don't care if they're sinners or saints, warriors. They stick like together. The bloodline of the Lamanites. And that's why I like jungle trekking. I like to mix in with the darker skinned people who have a culture and a spirituality, but not a hatred or a racism towards the white man. I mingle in with it. I've learned a lot, experienced a lot of supernatural things. I know it's not Christian, but it does not change me one bit. I'm still a Christian. I know the power of alchemy, not turning water into wine, not those sort of miracles, but the miracles of life, spirit of life, and operate on that level. I make decisions on those levels, be it my higher intelligence or a Holy Spirit can come personally and bear witness and give confirmation, revelation, rather than sit back and do absolutely nothing. And it works. And many would not go there. Angels will not tread in the sense that most people would get taken away. I can go to a Buddhist temple, no problem. I love Buddhism, though it's pagan. I do not worship Buddha. There are those who will not step a foot on a temple of a Buddhist, and yet they would demand their family to come to their church. And this is the one-sidedness of Christianity in some ways. Catholics go in and convert cannibals and get eaten, and Protestants too for that matter, and just continue to try and convert the whole world. In fact, here in Australia, they took the black babies back in, I think in the 60s. It's called the stolen generation. The mothers never got to see the kids again, and they forced the Catholics to forced the babies to become friggin' Catholic. Shame on the Catholic Church. Dominating rule in this world. No wonder why the Muslims are laughing. And plus they broke away too and became Shah law, but it started off quite peaceful, and they used to protect the Christians from the Catholics and so forth back in early days. But the Catholic Church has tried to rule and reign and convert the world to something based upon the rock of Peter, my ass. 300 years later. The Mormon Church also claimed upon the rock of Peter, but there's a lot of light in it, a restoration, and it's beautiful, but there's a lot of rotten eggs and Pharisees that join it because the reward is too good to refuse. Families can be together forever. There's no such thing under Catholic rule, but then again, the Catholic Church is not as strict. So, but then again, there are those who have love and charity, and they give their money to the homeless rather than always giving it to the church, and those people get either kicked out or removed. So that's shame on Mormon Church too, for that matter. So anyway, regardless religion or not, humanitarians that do a lot of great things in society have a heart of gold, fruits of the Spirit. I think it's a better choice than atheism. I grew up with atheists, or agnostic for that matter, and most of my family are agnostic and atheist on my bloodline, and on the other side, where I'm married into Indian culture, they're all Catholic, but mainly, but decent, and they invite you for Christmas and so forth, right? So, not that they wish you so much until you get there in person. Pretty much hush hush on the internet. It's like it's not for me personally anyway, but they wish their own kind. So I'm kind of an outsider, and even though they respect me as a grandfather to the children, a step grandfather, they always include me in that sense. But I know the wisdom that I know, and the grace gospel message of Paul and the priesthood, which is the twofold gospel. They reject that, but they don't reject Jesus Christ. But there will be a lot of churches, such as Baptist, the Church of Christ, so forth, would say they will burn in hell because they've got the wrong church, wrong Jesus. I can't see that happening, and there will be lots of opportunities for them to come to the real Jesus before the end, if they're still alive. And if they die ignorant, I do believe there is a spirit world or spirit prison where they can be, repent in that sense. They may not be wicked or in that sense, but ignorant, and ignorance is bliss, I suppose. A lot of people are going to get second chances. But to be a Catholic and believe little infant babies burn in hell forever because they're not Catholic is just not an intelligent people that believe that. So little children, innocent, just go back to God. Like my child died, that was the end of it. So how dare the Catholic Church come make that claim and scare people like that they have to be Catholic and so forth. And if you marry in the Catholic Church in some countries like Philippines, you can't get divorced. You're trapped. Anyway, religion sucks, but then again, all churches, regardless priesthood or not priesthood religions, it's still Christianity. It's still religion. So we can't just say the the grace gospel is not a religion. It is, and there's 47,500 split divisions. It's more messed up than all of them, and prideful, and sending people 10 times more to hell the Bible warns against, shoving it down people's throats. They should be just crying repentance, bring and lead people to the cross, or Jesus on that cross. It's as simple as that. But they are gum flappers, and they can't help themselves, and they're prideful, and they answer to the elders, the pastors, the clergy, and once you're out, you're out. You never get back in, and they hate Mormons, they hate ex-Mormons, and they remove you from Bible study and so forth. Where the least the Latter-day Saint Church, they will welcome you back if you come back in, and you're welcome. No matter what, it's they give you a second chance, and before they excommunicate you, they will get you to pray and everything, and kneel down, and if you've got a contrite heart or spirit. So I know there's been some cruel things happen to me, family broke up and everything, some lawyer, bishop, because they're all married in the Mormon church, where the Catholic Church is single priests. So either way you want to look at it, religion really does suck. But everyone deserves a second chance, and sometimes it's just malicious false gossip against you, and you're told just to not to question it, just accept it, and it's worse when it's claimed by revelation. But that's not the case recently. Just challenge us to overcome things that are extra, that's not even practiced in the Old Testament, just all these added laws. And there's more gossip in the Latter-day Saint Mormon Church on the layman common level than the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church doesn't interfere, and you can step out and have a smoke, drink tea, coffee, whatever, and still be a fundamental Catholic in that respect. On the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, totally corrupt. Homosexuality, it's just evil. In the Mormon Church at the top, the only evil that I can see is the money hoarding and the filthy rich empire that it is, hardly helping the poor. Building temples out of that money, mainly so people can get married for time and all eternity, have eternal sex, and become gods. That's a carrot dangling for sure, and a lot of bad people join because that's the sort of reward they want. So Catholics aren't aiming for any of that sort of reward, and they're under the suppression of the Catholic rule. But either way, Protestant too, for that matter. And then you got all the other churches that are not priesthood, and they claim to be part of the church, to be raptured and taken up, and they really think that they're the ones that saved and chosen, but they are the most prideful in that sense, because they preach a doctrine where basically you're going to burn in hell if you don't accept the grace. Now, Catholics do have a fire and brimstone hell doctrine too, for those who are not Catholic, but they don't preach to you 24/7 standing on street corners. You accept it or you don't. It's apostolic authority to them. So is Mormonism. They don't stand on street corners like that. So the ones standing on the street corners and preaching a fire and brimstone hell doctrine are completely consumed with a 24/7 pride. But then again, it was religion that caused the wars, mainly in the world, the bloodshed and killing in the name of God and prophets and popes. So you pick your level, that's your bullshit. Anyway, that's my message for the day. I haven't heard from our kids for about over a year now, and as far as I'm concerned, they are cowards, they are godless, and there's no love, mercy, charity in them. And I give more respect to the Lamanites, the Polynesians, the islands, the Pacific, the South Americans, the New Zealanders. If I had my life over again, I hope I don't come back white, because white man sucks, because they just leave your family for dead as time goes on. But the Lamanite dark skin culture stick together. In fact, any culture that's of a different color skin normally stick together. The only ones that I wouldn't trust are the militant communists that would kill their own mother for stepping out of line. But most cultures in the world, even Asian culture, would not desert their own mother or grandmother if she's a witch doctor or got out of prison. Indian culture don't throw their mother or grandmother out too, but they can look down and judge because she's got some shitty past reputation, either a marriage breakup or something she's done, and they'll call her a shitty mother, and kind of disrespect. That's the Anglo-Saxon British rule that's come through the Indian culture. So what? So I think the Asian culture, even though people call them snakes and all this, I don't care. You should not be thrown out under the bus because you're not a Christian, you're a bloodline, you're a warrior, you might even have a friggin' spear in your hand. Sometimes I have dreams of these Lamanite cultures and they come to me in spears, and they're too angry as batshit to accept maybe the Mormon gospel anyway. They stand there with these spears and they're looking at me and they're like basically calling me warrior. I don't get a white man doing that. I never get a white man in a dream come to me and say, "You're a warrior." So I feel I've got more respect coming from those tribal people that are dead in some type of spirit prison, and other people's ancestries when I get close to people. So that's just how it works. Because I'm psychic in that way, and I've got gifts, and I see things, and I can see a lot of people from other cultures coming unto Christ. They're repenting of a lot of maybe war crimes or whatever they did in their warrior battle days. But when it comes to the white man and wicked kings and priests and popes and whatever, man, I tell you what, they've got a lot of accountability. Can you imagine some of the kings that used to pretty much steal their own son's wife on the wedding night to have sex with the son's wife before the son even had her, and she's a virgin? Those sort of wicked things happen in the bloodline, or they married their brother or sister or whatever. Or I watched a movie last night. Again, it was a Christian Japanese one. Don't get me wrong. It's called Shogun. Fantastic series. I got it on Disney, and the emperor was an old man, had a young wife, allowed the Protestant, who was not considered a barbarian and a pirate, to sleep with his own wife, and then had a child. And of course, his wife really loved the barbarian, the white guy, English guy. They didn't end up killing him in the end because they knew he'd go back to England and tell the world that the Japanese Christian culture is of importance. But they were brutal. So this was nothing to do with communist or Buddhist. This was really Japanese Christian culture from the 16th century. What a great movie that was. So the white man did get a lot of respect, but he kept on thinking to the day he died. He was on his deathbed and he had holding onto the cross, thinking about Fuji, beautiful, beautiful Fuji. Oh my goodness, what a dynasty! And even though he was a pirate, a barbarian in one respect, they were barbarian too, the Japanese, bloody Christian, killing in the name of their god and prophets, or popes. And when he made love to Fuji, the deepness of it all was greater than what the emperor had to show. So that's why white man did get blessed as we Gentiles. That's what we are. Paul preached mainly to the Gentiles, right? But when the white man cuts off from the family or the bloodline because of pride and everything, there's that story in the Book of Mormon. At the end, they were wiped out, and it's been prophecy that they are puffed up and proud again, and it's an apostasy, regardless of. It's better than what it was, maybe less racist or something, But I just have a love for the Indian, Asian, darker skin, Lamanite culture, the South America, islands of Pacific, Latino, Spanish, just all that type of bloodline. I've just got a fascination for it. I know there can be barbarian in a sense, or warriors and cannibals, even, whatever they might have been back in those early centuries. But when they come to me in dreams like that and stand there with their spears and they just tell me that they call me warrior, warrior Kirky or something, why doesn't my own blood line family come back and say that. They're so proud and puffed up that they look down on me like I'm not rich enough. I'm not in royalty. I'm not, my mum's side of the family were hilly-billy type of desert dwellers and so forth, camel dwellers, you can say, in one respect. My grandmother and grandfather was a Jillaroo, Jackaroo, rode horses and things. Then he ended up doing prospecting for gold in his later years. 3 weeks on out there in the bush, and then 1 week with my grandmother. So, but my mum's side of the family, they have come to me in dreams, and I have had, but not calling me warrior, but having, they don't judge me rich or poor. But my dad's side of the family, they're so prideful that, like, you're a loser. Yeah. And when I met my dad in the spirit prison, very dark and dreary down there. He's come out now, but I won't get into that. My Uncle Ray was an adulterer all his life. I mean deliberately. He was a school teacher, a woodwork teacher, and he slept with a lot of the students. And then his wife did the same thing at a later stage. She gave up, and they're both dead now. But when he was in the spirit prison, they both threw a big long chain at me. I didn't feel any pain, but it knocked me down. It was humiliating, and I manifested chain and threw a chain and knocked my dad down and Uncle Ray down. Now, Uncle Ray never got up again. My dad did. The next thing I saw my dad outside of that prison, dressed in white robes, waiting for Mum, sitting by a temple, wanting a coffee, and he couldn't get it. And a big floating library, a bookcase of knowledge. He had nothing to do but learn, because and looked at me like, son, you told me there's life after death. It was quite a smirk on his face, like, you got to be kidding me. Are you serious? It really is life after death. But Uncle Ray never got out of spirit prison. And it's like he was a drinker and everything, but the whole bloodline thing. But my dad was probably the most decent out of all of them. Yeah, the prideful thing. See, my dad had to put up with me preaching, and he saw some supernatural things, but he still denied it. He had to put up with me and my grandmother preaching the gospel, and he hated it. But the others in the bloodline never got a preaching at all. It was never even brought up. They were into sport, racing cars, gambling, you name it. So they went to their death completely ignorant. My dad had many opportunities, and he was surrounded by light and love. And he was a family man, and we used to prefer him to have a drink because he would let go of that militant attitude, and he was a better father. So I was brought up, alcohol was actually a good thing because he was happy drunk. But I don't like alcohol. Because his mates would come over and cause trouble and all sorts of things. So, nevertheless, that's my story. And so I don't want to judge anybody. I would rather that those warriors with a spear that come to me in dreams and stand next to me and call me a warrior, and they seem to be trying to get a message across to me. Those people want to accept the truth and the gospel, and they've got this real, you could call it a pride in some way, but pride goeth before the fall. They've got this dignity, and they've got this family value. It doesn't matter if the family is good, bad, or ugly. They've got this power of love for their family, and white man does not. It's all about reputation, appearances, and so forth. Like I'm either too poor, or they don't, they're atheist or agnostic, and it's just sickening what my white blood family has done. My mum is a wonderful lady. She's probably the only one, but she even forgot to wish me this year. It wasn't until I wished her. But then again, she's old and she could be losing it. But nobody else in the whole friggin' entire world wished me. And then when I wish a couple that I really love, then they wish me, and they made up some excuse like, "Oh, I sent it to the wrong person," or something. It was like something to make me think that it was a mistake. They did try to send it to me, Anyway, doesn't matter. So God bless. Happy 2025, and may this video touch the hearts of many and some. Most of my videos I make private a few days afterwards. So, but I'm getting the message across. and there may be a few listening that benefit from it. Forgive my dyslexic and speech impediment, so forth. I had that near-death angel experience. I was in a coma. Though I excelled and got educated, taught in Muslim schools and things overseas, and